Welcome to the Client Code Podcast, the podcast where we decode what really drives women in business, their lives, their lessons, and the choices that shaped their success. I'm your host, Carol Kabale, and each week I sit down with incredible women to explore their mindset, mission, and the magic behind their work. Because in business and in life, what you don't change, you choose. So, Ali, welcome to the Client Code Podcast. Woo! I am so excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Carol. I'm excited too.
We had a conversation about this kind of, off the air. And I said, I'm secretly going to use this entire podcast for selfish reasons because I want to learn how to write a book. But listen, I'm getting ahead of it. So let me go back because that's how excited I am about today's show. Let's start how we always start the show. Ali, for anybody who's listening, what is your unique client?
I think I would say that our client code, the part that I've really cracked, is understanding how to find and attract and connect with clients who are serious about getting results from their books, that they don't just see it as a vanity project. They don't just see it as something they can decorate their Zoom backgrounds with. It's not just a bucket list item. They really want to build an audience. They want to leverage that book for business purposes, whatever it is. They're serious about getting those results, and we're serious about helping people to think beyond the book sales. And when that happens, we're really in alignment. And of course, when you're in alignment with your clients, trust, follow-ups, referrals, all of that flows really naturally.
I love that. Guys, we're writing books today. We are all becoming authors. You know what? If you had told me, young Carol, years ago, and she was like, hey, you're going to write a book one day, I'd be like, you're lying. And probably like a teacher at school would have probably been like, Carol, are you sure? Are you sure it wasn't somebody else? But let me tell you something. That is the magic that Ali is bringing to you. The possibility that whatever you have to share is enough and deserves to be put in a book. And she's going to help you. Her and her team can help you do it. So I'm, again, very selfish reasons today. I'm just going to kick off with, I think for me, what stopped me from writing a book is I want to write the right book. I don't know what the wrong book is, but I know that something inside of me is telling me I need to write the right book. Can you explain what that looks like for entrepreneurs, or is there a right book to write?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a very firm believer that there is such a thing as a right book and a wrong book. And unlike what I think many people assume, it's not about quality, right? We're going to assume that any book that you put out into the world is well done, right? Let's just make that blanket assumption. What makes a book the right book versus the wrong book is really thinking beyond, like we mentioned a moment ago, just the book sales. So if you say, I want to become really known as a thought leader in, let's say, podcasting, right? I want everyone to know that Carol is the queen of podcasting. Then we want to make sure that you're writing a book that supports that goal, that supports establishing thought leadership, that supports, what I call putting your flag in the sand, right? Like, what is it you stand for around podcasting? What is your philosophy of podcasting? Why should anybody podcast in the first place? All of those things. But if you came to me and said, I want to be known as the queen of podcasting, but I'm going to write a memoir, right?
Okay.
Now you might be
tell people all my secrets.
Right. So now
that's what we're doing.
I would actually say, no, don't write the memoir, because even though you might be capable of writing a perfectly good memoir, the people who buy and read memoirs is not the same audience as the people who buy and read business books.
Correct.
So if you want to be known as the queen of podcasting and you want this book to elevate you as a thought leader, you want it to be read by business leaders. You want it to be read by influencers, by other people, marketers, right? People in the space. So later, when you're super famous and everybody wants to know how you did it, then you write the memoir. But first, you might want to write that thought leadership book, right? So that's an example where you could write a book. It might still be a perfectly good memoir, but it's the wrong book for what you're trying to accomplish right now.
When you say thought leadership, do you mean like something that we're already good at? So do I have to have created a framework or something that I guide clients through? Does it have to be something in stone, or can it just be like maybe lessons or things that I've learned? I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box. Like what would that look like as thought leadership?
Yeah, I mean, it could include a mix of any of those things. Books definitely come in types, but they're not entirely formulaic. That's one of the things that's so magical and creative about creating a book is they're not precisely all the same. But there is a slight difference between, say, a thought leadership book that talks about your ideas, your philosophies, maybe some case studies, just sort of talking more broadly about results and things like that, and a book that's, let's say, in more of the prescriptive nonfiction category, where you really have like an exercise in every chapter and you're walking people through that's where your framework comes in, right? Where you're teaching people a framework, step by step, do this, and then you'll achieve this transformation. That is also a kind of nonfiction book, but it's more prescriptive. Most thought leadership books focus more on the ideas, the philosophies, the experience, the stories.
Okay. So even if you don't have a framework, even if you haven't got it all down, there's hope. So if you're listening, don't worry. You can still write a book. Guys, who knew? You can still write a book. What's one thing you wish like people who want to become authors would do? What is one thing that no one does? And you're just like pulling your hair and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish you would just do this before you set out on writing this book. Besides hiring you, of course.
I wish that more authors would spend some time reading and researching their neighbors on the shelf, so to speak, the virtual shelf. So, I like to use this metaphor of a cocktail party. When you publish a book, you're not just launching that book out into an audience full of people who are waiting with bated breath to hear what you have to say. It's more like walking into a cocktail party an hour late. There are already books on your subject out there. There are already conversations that have been going on around your topic and in your space. And you don't just walk into a cocktail party and stand in the middle of the room and just start saying whatever it is you want to say, right? That's not joining the conversation. People look at you like you're a weirdo if you do something like that.
Exactly.
So why would you publish a book with that kind of mentality? You're entering a conversation that's already been going on. People have already been reading other books. Authors have already been out there touting other books in adjacent or similar spaces and topics. So you need to be aware of what that conversation is before you step into it and take that into account. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your book is an answer to other people's books, although it might be. It doesn't necessarily mean that your book has to say something wholly fresh and new that no one's ever said before. That happens very rarely. A lot of authors get hung up on, why should I write a book? It's already been said. But you have a unique and fresh perspective. Whatever it is, however many times it's been said before, each person has their own experiences, their own background, their own ideas, their own intelligence. And that's what shapes what you want to say in a way that's a little bit different. But you want to join the conversation and become a value add as opposed to, the bull in the china shop who just runs through the room regardless of anything else.
No one wants that. I mean,
No one
we all love attention, but girl, no. No. We don't want that. I'm also
Exactly.
just curious, in a world that is so driven by us doom scrolling our life away, books, they're still like a great thing, or I don't know, are we just getting the Kindle version? Like, where do they fit in?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think since the beginning of history, there's always been this sort of every time a new technology is created, right? Everyone thinks it's the death of something. Telephone's dead. This is dead. Books are dead. Ebooks have been around now for well over a decade, and certainly they haven't killed the book. They've just made the book more accessible. So, in a way, I actually think that the more our attention is divided by doom scrolling and social media and all of this stuff, books actually become even more important because it's still one of the very few vehicles, the only one that I can think of off the top of my head, where you can spend 6 to 8 hours in somebody's brain. That's an extended period of time that somebody is really engaging with you, your personality, your ideas, your instruction, your guidance. You can't do that in a blog post or a 2-second social media post. It's just not happening on other platforms. So I think a book is really very special in that way.
You're right. Because as you were saying it, I was just picturing like me with my Kindle. It's like a very intimate thing. Like, smut aside, the educational stuff that I'm reading is very good. And it makes you see that person really quickly in an authority, someone that you can listen to. You end up quoting a lot of the things that you learn. And you're just like, yeah, I was reading this book and this thing happened. And then it was like, great. So books are here to stay. I think that's what you're telling me.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
books are here to
format
stay.
might change, right? The format might change. We might do more ebooks. Print books may eventually go away. Maybe books will become multimedia experiences somehow. All of that certainly can change, but I think it's going to be a very long time before the basic idea of the book goes away.
Okay, you heard it here first. The book is here to stay. I'm just letting you know. If you didn't know, now you know. I think one of the things that stops us all, well, myself, but all the audience, of course, for research purposes, is how long this book needs to be. Because I think that's probably something that stops people from starting, because they're like, well, I don't have anything to say that it's like 1,000 pages or whatever. And you're like, like, how long does it need to be? Like, best case scenario, like short and sweet. What can we get
Yeah.
away with?
It depends really on the type of book you're trying to write. So when we talked earlier, right, about that thought leadership book, that kind of flag in the sand, those books tend to run a little bit shorter. They can range anywhere between about 25,000 words to 40,000 words. And you certainly can write something shorter than 25,000 words, but the reason I use that as a benchmark is really very simple. If you want a print version and it's shorter than 25,000 words, you're going to end up with something so thin it's barely going to have a spine on it. It's really just not going to have that same presence that a physical book has. So that's why the minimum of about 25,000 words, it's roughly 100 printed pages. But yeah, 25 to 40,000-ish for that type of book. Now, if you write a book that's a lot meatier, if you do have like a signature framework, let's say you're a coach, for example, and you have a 7-step process, for transforming your mindset around money, let's just say, you're going to need more space and time to walk that person and affect that transformation. So maybe your book is going to land a little more in the 40 to 60,000 word category. But honestly, for a really good nonfiction book, even with traditional publishing, which tends to like books to be a little bit longer, you don't want a nonfiction book to be more than 75,000 words tops. If it starts to get longer than that, it starts to put people off. It starts to really affect the pricing. And this day and age, it's just not what people want to read.
Okay. Well, that feels doable. I don't know. I thought you were going to hit me with like a huge number, and I was going to be like, okay, I'm out again.
No.
Can't do it.
No,
but that feels very doable.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, they think that I'll make it thicker and thicker, right? I'll put more and more into the book. I'll really fill it with everything I've ever learned. And it's a wonderful impulse to want to share everything you've ever learned. But from a marketing perspective, that's actually the kiss of death. You don't want a book to be 1,000 pages. No one's buying a book for 1,000 pages.
Well,
Not
I don't know.
nonfiction anyway.
Yeah, well, if it's like, I don't know, if there's some fairies and they're doing some things, maybe. But if there's no fairies, I don't know. I don't think our listeners are reading 1,000 books of that. Great. So let's say this. I have an idea for a book. What is my next step to get this out there? What do I do?
Okay. So you have a business, you have a platform, you're an expert in some particular topic area. You want to write a book. The very first thing you want to think about is, what do you actually want to achieve with your business? Actually has nothing to do with the book at all. What are you trying to do in your business? What are your next steps? What are your goals? Are you trying to get on stages as a speaker? Are you trying to get hired to do corporate retreats? Are you just trying to be known in a space? Or maybe you've been known in a space and you want to pivot into a different niche and you need exposure in that niche. You need a book to bridge you. So first, you got to be clear about what you actually want to accomplish in the world. That's really the very first step. And from there, the next step still isn't really about the book. The next step is about the people. Who do you need to reach to make that goal happen? Right? How does it, so you're sort of backwards engineering. Well, I want to do this with my business. I need to connect with these kinds of people to make that happen. And then you start thinking about the book idea. Okay, so what is the book that those people need? What's the problem I need to solve for them? What's the idea I need to educate them about? What's the myth I need to bust for those people to connect with them so that they can help me to achieve my goal?
Okay. So honestly, writing this book is a lot like marketing. As you were doing it, I was like, well, it's not about the program. It's not about the solution. It's more about like the people who need the solution. Let's think how we're going to get it to them before we just throw an ad together and like put it out there. But before you put anything out there, we basically have to make sure that, hey, what are we going to use it for? I like that. And also, I wanted to say, with your book, when you said it had to be really thin, I had this idea of like, it has no spine, so it's like a jellyfish. So, guys, we don't want any jellyfish books out there. We want strong books with strong spine. I don't know why that came into my head, but that's what popped in. I was like, okay, interesting. Can I ask, what has been of late your favorite kind of book projects that you've worked with someone? Like, what has been a highlight?
Gosh, well, we recently had a wonderful highlight. So we had a woman that we'd been working with for over a year, I think almost 2 years from start to finish. We don't do a lot of book coaching projects. I've sort of experimented with that, but this woman was a part of one of those campaigns. So we started with her from the very beginning. We helped her nail down the concept for her book. We helped her to outline her book. We had a book coaching program that supported her while she wrote the book. And then once she had the draft, we took her the rest of the way, editing, design, production, marketing, the whole bit. And it was a really fascinating project because she was such a smart woman and she had identified in a very savvy way a real need in the market. She saw that there was something that her audience needed that nobody was giving them. And so she wrote this book, with our help to really speak to that and also to help at the same time elevate her visibility, because that was really what she was after. She wanted that thought leadership piece. She wanted to become known as someone because she was working as a consultant. That's what she sold. She sold consulting services to certain groups of people. So it just all worked out so beautifully. She, hit number one in a bunch of different categories. She's got, I think the last time I looked, she has already close to 100 positive reviews. The reviews were just flowing in. When everything is in alignment, it makes the entire thing happen so much more smoothly. There certainly was strategy involved, but she didn't have to push the way some other authors have to push because they didn't do that thought, at the very beginning about what we were just talking about, what they wanted the book to do and who was it really going to serve and all of that stuff. It was magical to see it all fall into alignment for her. And now she's doing the audiobook and the audiobook is about to come out and we're going to get to see it happen all over again. It's just, she's so happy and she's so sweet. And it's just such a joy to have been a part of it all.
I can see how passionate you are about helping people be visible through books. Like I could see it in your face in the way you were just like, man, this person's going to win. I love when people win. And like, I can see that like this book, I don't even know what it is, but I'm like, tell me more about the book because that's how excited you are about it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I will tell you, it's I think it's good to really understand the example. So the book is a leadership book for scientists and engineers. And the author's name is Gwen Acton. And when you think about that, if you're not her target audience, that doesn't seem very profound. But if you are a highly technical person, an engineer, a scientist, you've been trained as a scientist and an engineer. Nobody taught you how to be a leader. Nobody had taught you how to run a team. Nobody taught you how to hire people or fire people or communicate with stockholders and CEOs, right? So it's this whole missing piece that there are actually a lot of very smart, accomplished people failing at because no one ever gave them the support they needed. And so she wrote this book to help them do that. And it's just remarkable. And I'll tell you,
I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm getting this book. My husband is an engineer. This man, I feel like I self-taught myself business, and what I learned, I taught him, like to be the leader in his business as well. And it's like you said, it's not taught. They are taught many years of like, this is right, this is wrong, this is the principle. So yeah, that makes sense. What you're saying makes sense to me. I'm like, you're preaching to the choir here.
It was brilliant. It's also a really good example, I think, of why I do what I do, because, that the reason that I'm getting so excited is because she allowed us to be a part of creating something that now goes out into the world and is helping thousands of other people, right? Like that is exponential impact. And again, there are very few ways in this world where you can really have that kind of transformative impact on someone's life other than through a book. So for us, we get to help people go on to help thousands, maybe millions of other people. And it's just an incredible honor and a joy.
Gosh, no, this is great. This is it. I think we can end now. No, I'm joking. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Please say. For anyone listening right now who is jumping through wherever they're listening to us on and is like, Ali, but how do I do it? How do I get started? How do I write this book? How do I work with you? Tell the people. what happens next if they want to work with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a free gift for your audience that I would love for them to go check out. It's a pre-recorded webinar called Don't Write the Wrong Book. It will help you to really think through some of these ideas that we've been talking about today. They can get it at offers.thewritersally.com/client code. And beyond that, if they already have a draft, they can go straight to my website, thewritersally.com. I do a free book strategy call with everybody. So we'll get on a call. We'll talk about your project and your needs. And if you're still very, very early in the process and you feel like you want that kind of support, choosing the right idea, getting your book outlined, we do still offer those services. So you can go ahead and fill out that book strategy call form, and then we can talk about how we can get you enrolled in one of those.
Oh my gosh, guys. So there is actually no reason why you should not be writing a book. For all of us who were told at school, you are not that girl who's writing a book. We are those people. We are going to go back to school with our book in hand to that English teacher and be like, how do you like me now? I have a book. Okay. That can be us. Guys, the dream is available. Okay. Sign up. I'm excited. I'm so excited about this. Okay. We have gotten to that time of the show where I ask all my guests my favorite quote. So my favorite quote or mantra is, what you don't change, you choose. And it's really special to me because every time I say it, especially when I'm doing something like, these jeans don't fit. Well, Carol, what you don't change, you choose, girl. I don't want to eat this salad. What you don't change, you choose. I don't want to work with this client because they're annoying. Oh, what you don't change, you choose. So I want to ask you, Ali, what are you choosing today?
Well, I'll tell you, I think what I'm choosing today is the same thing I've been choosing all year. What's driven me to bring myself to your show in the first place, which is that I've been really focused on my visibility and, applying that same encouragement and support that I give to my clients to myself to get out there, to be able to have the impact to help more people. And in addition to getting out there on podcasts, I am for the first time finally writing my own book as well.
Guys, okay, I know. I'm freaking out. I really didn't know it. That was such a nice twist. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. What? That's so cool. Okay, can we get a little exclusive? Like, what is it about or anything you want to share?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. So the book has so far been titled The Author Advantage, and I am directing this one at people who actually already have a book. The next one will be for the folks who are just writing it. But for now, what I'm really trying to solve is all of these folks out there who have been told, well, you need to have a book. You have a business, you have to have a book. Everyone has to have a book. And so they wrote the book, but no one told them what to do with it once it was published. And so now that book is just sitting in their email signature, sitting in their Zoom background, and they're trying to sell books one at a time. And of course, they're incredibly frustrated. They're not getting the results they were promised. They're not seeing the magic transformation in their business. And I want this book to really be a playbook to help people understand how to shift their mindset, first of all, and understand that the value of the book is not the cover price. It's what the book can do for your business as a tool. And then I want to offer them some strategies that have been tried and tested over the years and used by other authors to leverage that book to achieve those goals for their business.
Oh, guys. Okay. I have a lot of reading to do, but this has been magical. Thank you so much, Ali, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing with us your love of books, for really giving us permission. I think a lot of us on here, we're like, books? No, that's not for me. And I think you've just proven in this very short amount of time, we all have a book in us. We all have the right book in us. And I'm excited to see all the authors that come out of this, because you've sparked the joy. So you've started the outcome of it. English is leaving. You see, I don't have any more words, guys. It's gone in the book. It's gone. Everything's gone in the book. That's what's happened. But I've really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you again for being on the podcast. I really have enjoyed it.
Me too. It was so much fun. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Client Code podcast. As always, my name is Carol Kambale, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.